All right. Well, good morning.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Welcome to our technical assistance meeting today. My name is David Lee, and I'm the Director of Student Support and Wellbeing, and we have Christy Swartz, who is the coordinator for Summer Soul Program, and we're both coordinators for 21st Century. So we're going to do this a little bit different, I think, than probably in the past. We'll give you opportunities to ask us some questions. We're not going through every detail, every slide, and give you another PowerPoint presentation. We're just going to put it in categories and let you select from the categories questions that you may have.
Well, I need a meeting room.
That one I can't
That's the
see.
problem. Yeah, I
You
have
can't
to
see
have a
it?
meeting
No,
room.
it's too small.
Okay, let me make it bigger.
So it's,
Yeah.
Is that better?
So for.
Yeah,
A little
well,
bit.
a little bit, but let me,
I'm sorry.
I got to turn to the other screen here. I'll read them.
I will.
We're going to give you a kind of a, if you want to look at the
Definitely.
categories,
Thank you
this is an
very much.
overview of 21st century, the general application guidelines, the application tool, the application components, and you're probably going to need to ask some questions about that. The appendices, and then our contact information. But in particular question that you may have before we get started here, that we can go to one of those categories and see what kind of questions that you might have. Now, look at the chat right here. Okay, Amber's typing. Good, Amber.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I'll have to ask Elizabeth about that just to make sure, Amber, and I'll get back with you, but I don't think there is. But I'll check with Elizabeth today and I'll email you back for sure. Elizabeth's the McCoy's to give her the GPS there.
And there is an application template. Have you seen that? It will let you go in and go ahead and that's not what I wanted. Well, erg. It should be taking us out, back out to the other screen. So in the application tools, sorry about that. There is an application template that has all the sections so you can see them all together. I saw the template. Okay.
That's a little small right there.
Is that better?
Better.
I can also pull up the template itself if I need to. I'll just have to close the PowerPoint to do that. Let me try to get my other screen up, and if I can move this over there, then. I can also look at the chat on my phone. Hang on one second.
I have a question when you get to the point where it's not on this section.
Okay, go ahead.
With the competitive priorities in the bonus points or priority points, is there an easy way to figure out comprehensive support and improvement schools?
We'll have that, David. We got that list here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what Sherry had planned to do is submit that with the applicants so that you'll have it. Because it comes straight to the department anyway, so we have a list of that.
Okay, I was trying to track down Mason's counties and I didn't really.
Yeah, it's like I said, that one's a tough one. So we'll just get that out to you.
Okay, and I sent an email to the superintendent, but I hadn't heard back from him yet. And then I'll get I don't even know if he knows which schools are because he's new, but
He
he should. But
he probably does, but we just, like I said, we had the printout of that, so we'll get that out to you.
and I don't think I'm very high on his priority list of things to track down for.
Probably
So
not right now.
that's why I thought maybe I'd just ask here.
I don't think, yeah, I think he's been pretty busy lately. Won't you go to that priority reports, Christy, so we can kind of really kind of
Sure.
as people's got questions about it.
So that is in the application guidelines. Oh, there we go.
Okay, yeah, if you haven't had it in the last 5 years, of course, that hasn't changed much. The 5 points, the STEM activity, 2 points. And the thing about it, the STEM, if you're involved in that, just don't put that you have a STEM, that you plan on a STEM program. Kind of go into detail about what you're going to do with that. Career Tech for middle high school. And like I said, the CIS schools will get that out to you. So you don't have to try to search and see the answer to that. The joint submission of an LEA and a partner, 4 points. That's not changed.
Okay, I wanted to go back also and look in the chat and answer some of the questions. So Amber asked, does GPS allow charts, graphs, and graphs in the narrative, or should those be attachments? You can submit charts and graphs in the narrative in GPS. I've seen them in the continuation reports and in applications, so I know that's possible. The template itself, Emily, is a Word document that I just put together so that you would have a landing place to gather all of your data. And so you could see everything on one page, because in GPS, everything is on different pages and in different sections. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of gather everything together before you started typing it in the system. So that's just a tool. But yes, you do go into the template or into GPS to submit the application, and the template is posted in the application resources on our webpage. And I can also link it in the chat here in a minute for you. And then we had a question, can the responsibilities of the collaborative liaison and evaluator be fulfilled by other roles in our staffing plan? For example, we have a program coordinator who serves as a liaison between the school and after-school program. So yes, a program coordinator can be your collaborative liaison. I don't know about evaluator. David, do you know that? Can that person also serve as an evaluator?
And evaluator be, I'll have to check on that one. I'm not sure.
Amber, no apologies about asking questions. That's why we're here.
Oh, and we're going to get these categories instead of trying to go through everything, and then give you a chance to ask questions, and then we'll kind of go back if we've missed something.
Right. You will receive access to GPS when you submit your intent to apply. Oh, you already did that. Okay. Sherry will send that to you. She's out until the 28th, but she will give everyone access to GPS, or she will ask Elizabeth to do that, but we will let you know when we do that. David, Amber says she thought there was a link on the CCLC application page to data for Title I CSI low SES percentages. Oh, okay. Maybe there is. We can check that later.
Well, like I said, we've got that, so we can get that to you.
Yeah. And Michelle wants to know, will an applicant receive priority points if they make connections between high school CTE programs? Oh, is that the one we already answered?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get that, Michelle?
No, she didn't. Okay.
Okay. If you'll go back to that one, and I'll show you the points. I can't remember exactly how many points there were, but go back to it. 2 points for programs for middle or high school students. You'll get credit for that.
Oh, she's asking if they make connections between the high school CTE program and middle school students. She's saying they're not going to offer the CTE program to middle school,
Right, most schools don't.
but they're going to connect it
Yes.
so that the middle school students can participate in the high
Right.
school program.
You get 2 points for that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because we know that there's some middle schools that have industrial arts, and then, which is a version of CTE. Some don't, but they still make
Right.
connections with the CTE high school program.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, got that one.
Are there questions about the application components, the action plan?
Yeah, won't you hit
Other
that?
sections?
That action
Sure.
plan's a little bit different and new to this year.
Okay, that's in the application narrative. So there we go. So there's a template for this too, and a worksheet. Well, the worksheet is the template. We have written 2 goals. So those of you who've applied for this before, this is different than what we had before. Before we had the logic model. And if you have a current grant, you're still using the logic model for your continuation reports. But we've streamlined it a little bit. We're calling it an action plan. We're hoping it's going to be a little bit easier to use and to understand. And I know Sherry and David presented this a couple weeks ago when I was sick. So I don't want to go all the way back through it, but if you have questions about it, then this is a good time for us to talk about it.
Purpose of the adjustment to this is we really felt like that it's a really better measuring stick to look at your progress that you can make over the years and the outcomes and so forth. It makes it a little bit more definitive of what you're trying to accomplish here. And we've got the 2 goals for you.
Right. So we wrote, the first goal is increase academic achievement. The second one is to increase family engagement. And then you can have 2 to 4 objectives for each of those. And the objectives are long-term, so those are annual. The strategies are actions that you're going to need to meet your short-term outcomes. So the outcomes are short-term, strategies are what you're going to do to meet those outcomes, and then progress indicators are the tools you're going to use to measure. So I'm just going to show you an example. So when you're looking at your outcomes, think to yourself, how are we going to achieve the objective? So in this case, the objective is by the end of the school year, at least 75% to attend the CCLC program for at least 90 hours will demonstrate growth from the iReady beginning of year to the end of year benchmark in reading. So looking at your outcomes, what are some things that are going to happen during the year in order for your students to meet that annual objective? So one thing is that the students are going to have to master some writing skills, reading and writing skills during the year. So you're going to need to make sure that happens. So what are some strategies you can do to make sure your students are mastering those skills along the way? You can do one-on-one tutoring and small group interventions to improve the foundational skills. So in the action plan worksheet, we kind of have it outlined for you. What is the action that you're going to take? Who is going to do it? How often? So in this case, the teacher's going to do it every day. She's going to be working with the students on those foundational reading and writing skills. And she's going to need data from an assessment in order to identify the skills the students need to work on. She's going to need some lesson plans, some materials, practice activities, and the standards. And then the progress indicators, just what tool are you going to use to measure that? So there are a few tools that people use to measure that. Obviously, you're going to use iReady because that was in the objective. So you're going to use that to see the progress the students are making from the beginning to the end of the year. You might also choose to use a screener like PALS that identifies specific skills that students need to target. And then your teachers are going to be using formative assessment when they're working with the students on those skills. They're going to be able to listen to them and see and look at their writing and see if they've mastered each one of those things. And then your evaluation plan is just how often are you going to do it? Who are you going to administer the progress indicator tool to? So who is going to take these assessments? Why are you doing it? So what are you trying to measure? And then how often? So PALS, you would need to do it at the beginning of the year to see what the students need to work on. And then maybe progress monitor everybody quarterly. But for the students who are really getting targeted because they need the most help, you might want to do it every couple of weeks. iReady is usually quarterly, or at least beginning, middle, and end of year. So you can also use that to monitor your progress towards your annual objective. And then, of course, that formative assessment. So like David said, one of the reasons that we tried to streamline this was so that you could see how all of the things in your action plan connect back to those objectives and to your needs assessment. So everything is aligned and everything's working towards that goal. Oh, thank you for putting up the application template. And I'm also happy to email it to you as an attachment if anybody has trouble finding it. Do you all have questions about the action plan? Or any of the other application narrative pieces while we're on this page?
And you can unmute if you want to, or you can type it in, either way you want to do it.
Yep.
Okay.
And for reporting purposes, our continuation reports are also going to change for new grants. We're going to call them progress reports, and they're going to follow this action plan model rather than the old logic model. But for existing grants, nothing will change.
Do you know if the data acquisition, like the iReady, for instance, is that accessible by other people other than the homeroom teacher or the student?
They can provide that. It is accessible to county administrators, and they may be willing to provide you access to that for your students. I know they have the capability to do that in some cases. I'm not sure. I haven't used iReady, so I'm not sure how that would work.
Yeah,
Either they can give you access or they can give you reports. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking each teacher does iReady with their specific class, and they're supposed to do 45 minutes a day, no more than 45 minutes, because it's part of a longitudinal study. So they can't do extra iReady. And then I'm not sure that who has access to it. I know we're working with it at Point Intermediate, and it's tricky because the teacher has access only to their class because they're middle school. They don't switch classes necessarily. So I'm not sure, like if we included iReady into the action plan as a measuring stick to do quarterly, how you would get students from grades, for instance, a Point Intermediate 3 through 6, all into one package, so to speak, so you could do their iReady progress, unless you went around to each individual teacher. And
no, the county administrator should be able to get that for you for each student that you have.
okay,
They have access to all of it. I don't know specifically, what county are you in?
Mason.
Okay. I don't know who the person is at Mason that would have access to that, but I could find out for you if you need us to.
I can ask. I just,
sure.
Generally you walk into the county administrators, they got 5 different jobs.
Yeah.
I'm
Definitely
just trying to figure out how that would play out, because I know iReady's tricky as it is with the teachers.
And sometimes they just do it beginning, middle, and end of year. So if that's how they do it, then you would just maybe use it those times of the year.
If anyone uses STAR, that's how they do STAR.
Yeah.
Put it at beginning, middle, and end.
Okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with iReady with Mason County,
Yeah, okay.
but it's more of a, I don't know. They're in the middle of their own study with it, so they don't vary away from
I
They're-
see.
template, so to speak.
Mhm. But they would have progress monitoring information they could share with you for reading and math.
Well, they do it on an individual kid basis, not on a group basis, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, it does. Which is good for you because that's what you need. But a lot of times those benchmark assessments don't drill down to the actual skills that the students need to work on. So it's not super helpful.
Yeah. Well, it's just they do individual teachers, so they do it for their SIT plans, their SAT meetings. So
Mhm.
it's for individuals, and then they look at it that way. Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes though, it will just tell you like they need to work on asking and answering questions, that kind of thing. It won't tell you this child has not mastered these phonics skills, so you need to work on those. So sometimes you also need a phonics screener or something like PALS or whatever the teachers or the county uses. And you can administer, there are some free phonics screeners online too that your teachers could use if they want to. They could administer those themselves.
Yeah, it just takes, our
It does.
programs aren't molded into that type of capacity where you have individual teachers with individual students.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure the
This
actual
is just an
plan
example.
is good for a small program that might only have 10 kids at school. But when you have
Mhm.
40 to 60, you really can't monitor that on a daily basis and then go in and work on specific skills with individuals.
Sure. So I've been to some programs that do have tutoring every day. Such as I was in one in Kanawha County they had teachers coming in to work with students, like small groups. So that's what we're talking about basically is in order to do tutoring with small groups, you just need to know what your kids need to work on. That's the whole purpose of the assessments examples that we put in there. And granted, I'm coming from a classroom perspective, so some of it may not be, doable. You may not be able to access all of that data or gather all of that data all the time, like you said, for a larger program. But you do need to know from the teachers or from the county administrators what skills your particular students need so that you can target those. So however you choose to gather that is up to you.
Yeah, I understand. I was just looking at the specific example and trying to apply it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
I do have a question under general application guidelines.
Sure. Let me go back.
Page 2.
Okay. Submission requirements?
No, it's under grant awards and renewability.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we don't have a slide for that. Go ahead and ask your question.
Can you see that?
I cannot because my presentation is
It's
taking up
under,
the whole
it's
screen.
under this page.
Sure. Yep,
Um,
I understand.
idea,
Go
yeah.
ahead and, yeah.
It's a renewable policy change, renewability policy change, section 4204J.
Yep.
I just can't, I don't understand what that means. It says West Virginia Department of Ed has the option to renew grants awarded to eligible entities under ESSA based on the eligible entity's performance during the preceding grant period.
So the renewability piece, as I understand it, and David, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah, go ahead.
was designed to give grantees who were affected substantially by the pandemic the option to add an additional year because maybe they weren't able to do all of their program activities during the 2020 school year, for example.
Well, that was my question. Is it isolated to those years then? Is that all that refers to?
I believe so.
Yeah,
David?
that's what it was, because we had put that in just in case, again. We didn't really have anything for that. I don't think we were sitting there predicting the pandemic was gonna have that much of an impact, so we had to add that in there just in case something happened again. And then it lined up with federal too, and even here at the State Department, because everybody was, even state grants, they were looking at that. So state grants, we had to look at something in there that we could make sure that we had that in writing. So if that ever occurred again.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was conversation 4 or 5 years ago about if a program had long-term sustainability and results that might be a clause to have that program pass through for another grant. But okay, I didn't think that was
That was just for the pandemic part.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Let's see. We went to tools, didn't we, Christie? That's right.
Yeah. Are there any
Components.
questions? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can go back to that. We didn't talk about all of those. If
Yeah,
anybody
let's
else
go
has
back.
another
Let's go back to
question.
that because there's been some adjustments.
What about the budget? Does anybody have questions about the budget? And we'll be doing another technical assistance meeting on March 30th. So if you get deeper into the application process and then you have questions, once you get into that, you can always come to that one also. The program summary looks a little bit different now. We took out
Can you
the,
enlarge that just a little bit?
that's as big as I can make
Awesome.
it. Oh, the program summary, I can click on it.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Okay.
Sure, sorry. The only difference on this is we took out the hours requirement on here because the federal 21 APR federal guidelines are not requiring a certain number of hours now for each student or for regular attendance, for example. So it looks a little bit different, but that's really the only change.
Now, is that the estimated number of students to be served annually? That's an estimate, or is that what you're going to serve? Because I've seen that used in monitoring and stuff as, well, you said you were going to serve this amount.
Mm-hmm.
So where's
It's
that?
both. It's an estimate, but we do expect you to serve about that many students. So if you estimated you were going to serve 200.
For when you're writing this
Right.
new grant, that you're going to serve 200 when that's not even feasible that you're going to do that.
When you're really only going to serve 50.
Right.
But if you said you were going to serve 200, it was 175, we wouldn't.
I mean, when you get started, you may increase or you may decrease. So
Right.
why we had to put an estimate in there.
But it should be a pretty good estimate.
Mhm.
It shouldn't be padded like David said. And everybody knows what the direct certification is. That used to be free and reduced lunch. What about assurances? Does anybody have questions about that? There's a lot of information in the RFP on that, in that section. Are there any sections that you would just like for us to go through again that you saw in the bidders conference that maybe you just want us to talk about a little bit more? Even though you don't have a specific question?
You have answered all my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. That was a general question also, though. If anyone wants us to go through a specific part, we can do that. And you know, we're always available via email, phone call. You can chat on Teams if you're on the 365 system. But if nobody has any more questions, and there's not a part that you want us to go through and talk through, then we'll go ahead and let you guys go, because this meeting is for you.
There's another one of these, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
March 30th at 10 o'clock.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The link should be in the RFP. And I sent it also to everyone who sent an intent to apply. All right. We'll hang on for a few minutes just in case anybody thinks of anything, but you're welcome to go, and I know everybody's busy today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.